Hello, everybody. It's your favorite boxing analyst reporting live from the Department of Corrections again. So, another very good fight on the Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker / Arthur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol card here, the big mega card at the end of February, 2 days after my dad's birthday. God bless him. He's going to have a good host of fights to watch on his birthday weekend. Say your prayers for the old man, if you could, for me, please. He's a good old greaseball from the Teamsters Union in Chicago. We all know Johnny's background, so I'd say a prayer for the old man. Give him some good fights for his birthday weekend, fellas, if we could, please. God bless him. But this is one of the better fights on the card, in my opinion, for the interim 154-pound title. Vergil Ortiz versus Israil Madrimov. Now, I'm going to start this off by saying Madrimov fought very well versus Terrence Crawford. He made Terrence Crawford look human. Now, given Terrence Crawford was moving up in weight, but in reality, the guy wasn't much bigger than him. You know, they were pretty much the same size, him and Terrence Crawford. Now, two things come to my mind when I see the fight between Madrimov and Crawford. Either one, Madrimov is a lot better than we thought, and or people were too busy sucking Terrence Crawford off for the Spence victory. It could be a little bit both. It could be one or the other. We're not quite sure yet, you know. But I will say this with regards to Crawford, but I love him. He's a great fighter. He's a Midwest boy like myself. He's a Packers fan. Love the guy to death, but he's not active enough, and he doesn't have the pedigree. He doesn't have the resume to be ranked over Naoya Inoue, Alexander Usyk, or Dimitri Bivol or Arthur Beterbiev on the pound-for-pound list. Sorry, that's the way it is. That's the way it has to be. I understand he's a two-time undisputed champion, but he fought pretty weak competition aside of Porter and Spence to get those titles. He's not above Inoue and Usyk at the very least. He's third at the maximum on the pound-for-pound list. But I don't want to make this about Crawford. I respect the guy. But like I said, it's a question of whether Madrimov is better than we thought, and or Crawford was getting a little too much praise for beating a shot to pieces Spence that went through a card windshield and was basically halfway Forrest Gump at that point. Another thing, which is why I'm a little bit iffy on this fight, Vergil Ortiz, I don't want to say he got the shit kicked out of him by Sergey Bohachuk, but he got a gift decision. Sergey Bohachuk dropped him twice and won that fight. He got robbed. You know, and even some of my close buddies in the live PBC are a little too high on Vergil, in my opinion. Vergil clearly lost that fight to Bohachuk, and people are fanboying him. Now, I say, but Vergil Ortiz is a good fighter. He's an offensive wrecking ball, but he's not the Terminator either. He's human. He's not Arthur Beterbiev, people. Vergil's, like I say, Vergil's an offensive wrecking machine. He has very fast hands, very fast feet. He's powerful. He's elusive, you know, but he's not invulnerable. He's a little bit chinny. You know, he can be hurt. We saw Kavalauskas drop him. Even though it didn't get called as a knockdown, Kavalauskas should have gotten a knockdown in that fight. In my opinion, that's his best win aside of the gift decision he got over Sergey Bohachuk. So Vergil's a very good fighter. I'm not taking that away, and I like him. He's a class act, but he's also human. Let's not overplay his hand here, bro. Like I say, he's entertaining. He's a class act. He's fun to watch. But let's not overrate him either. And again, he did get a very, very poor, great fight, bad decision with him and Sergey Bohachuk. And so that makes me a little bit iffy going into this fight. And that tells me one thing. Madrimov isn't going to get a fair shake on the scorecards should this fight go to a decision, just like Sergey Bohachuk didn't get a fair shake on the scorecard. So basically, Madrimov needs a KO to win in this fight, and I don't see that happening. I don't think he's as powerful as Bohachuk. He might be a little bit more skillful than Bohachuk, maybe, but I don't think he's as powerful. And you know, that brings me back to the point that I've said over the last 3 or 4 years, over and over and over and over and over, and even Mr. Jim Lampley, God bless that legend, told you the same thing. The most oppressed fighters, these guys in the Western world are discriminatory against the Eastern European and Asian fighters. Pacquiao, Inoue, Triple G, Kovalev, Lomachenko, Sergey, Madrimov. You know, every single one of them has been on a bad end of a decision in the Western world. They have a bias against those guys, the powers that be here in America, England, etc., so forth, Mexico. etc., so forth. They are discriminatory against Eastern Europeans, which is why I'll chuckle when I hear all these other dudes crying about racism in the sport. No. If anybody's truly oppressed in the sport, it's the Eastern Europeans and the Asians in boxing. That's it, people. That's it. I was shocked that Alexander Usyk got a fair shake, not once but twice against Tyson Fury. I thought for sure if those fights were close, they were going to rob him. But that brings me to think of two things, like I say. Vergil, even if Vergil loses the fight to 8-4, he's not. Madrimov isn't going to get a fair shake, and I don't think Madrimov has the power to put Vergil Ortiz out. So that brings me to my conclusion that Vergil Ortiz is probably going to win this fight by a late TKO. I think it'll be a competitive fight. I think Vergil Ortiz's hand speed might be a little bit too much for Madrimov. He's a little too powerful, a little too quick for him. I think he might beat him to the punch. So for my official prediction, I'm going with Vergil Ortiz in a late 10th or 11th round TKO in a very, very competitive and fan-friendly fight and one of the more entertaining fights on the big Beterbiev Bivol 2 Saudi Arabia card. So that's my 2 cents anyways, people. I'm a fan of the match. I said this before I wrote this down. I'm a fan of the matchup, but I'm not a fan of the politics involved in this fight. But for my official prediction, I got Vergil Ortiz getting Madrimov out of there in a good, competitive, entertaining fight in the late rounds. We'll say the 10th or 11th TKO. So that's my 2 cents anyways, people. God bless. Please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. God bless, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye. Doc.